Good evening and welcome to the Devil's Advocate. And I had to say that, and I had to make sure I said it because I appear on another channel, as you guys know. And if I didn't get that right, I'd have been in a world of trouble. Keane would have absolutely killed me. Welcome to the show. Welcome, Jamie. Just me and you tonight. So
stunning duo. What a duo.
Well, this is what I'm thinking. It's a proper duo, isn't it? Me and you. Let me see if I can. There you go. Me and you, proper duo. Tonight's show, we're going to talk about obviously our triumph in the Carabao Cup, and our man Jamie was there, so we can give us first-hand experience of what it was like in the crowd, what the game was like, how it unfolded from a supporter's eye actually in the stadium, and then we'll do a little bit about the upcoming match tomorrow night. And these games keep coming thick and fast, and we'll try and analyse what we can from West Ham. But we'll go into it in a bit more detail later, Jamie. But I hear that West Ham are looking to play possibly a weakened side because they feel that the cup isn't their priority, and that it's obviously the league which is their main priority because they're struggling a little bit. But anyway, first and foremost, mate, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm just about recovering. My voice is still a little bit hoarse, I don't know if you can tell. But now, it was a wicked day, man. Wicked weekend. What can you say?
Yeah, so just before we get into it, whereabouts were you in the stadium? What was your view like?
The view was all right. We weren't front row. I'll tell you that now. We were in block 537, I think. Let me check. Obviously, you get QR tickets and stuff these days. 523 we were in. So it was all right, do you know what I mean? And we were surrounded by a bunch of good Reds. We had a good time on the concourse. And obviously, I've said this to a few of my mates, that we didn't hear a peep at the Geordies all game. It's always tricky because obviously you hear what's around you, but you can tell when the atmosphere is good. And from where I was, the atmosphere for us was mint. And it was a solid performance. It's what you want from a cup final. You want your team to, we were just talking backstage then that we probably took 5 or 10 minutes or so to find our rhythm and to get a bit of a grip on the game. But once we did that, I never felt in danger. You could feel that we were confident. There was a couple of moments maybe where the people around me were a bit like, ooh. But as soon as we go 1-0 up, you think, this is it. This is ours to lose. We're going to smash them here. And look, he got his changes spot on throughout the game.
Yeah.
Controlled the final. Frustrated them. Fair play to Newcastle. We can say what we want about some sections of their fan base and stuff like that. But I think they were good on the day. They were pretty decent. Not bad for their first time in a major final for however many years now. They haven't won anything now
99,
for 60 years.
99, wasn't it? The last one.
Yeah, we're not counting any trips for the playoffs or anything like that, because all that means is that you were rubbish and got relegated. But now, fair play to them. Like, they can hold their heads high. I've bantered a few of my Geordie mates about them being rubbish, but truth be told, they were all right, weren't they? But look, it was a wicked day. The fans were mint. Don't believe what you see. I know. There's been stuff on social media being like, "Oh, the United fans were out of the stadium before the trophy was even presented." Like, there might have been 1 or 2 that dipped out early, but the vast majority, stayed in. The scenes were wicked, and we had a good kickabout on Wembley Way afterwards. So, excellent. Everything you want from a final day.
Yeah. So, okay, let's dip into it then. I mean, you know my view of football. I'm always, people were texting me, messaging me, nervous about the final, etc., etc. And I'm, my viewpoint is always the same. It's just another game. And people, they always question me and say, "What do you mean, just another game? There's a lot riding on it." And I said, "There's nothing more riding on this particular game than it is picking 3 points up in the Premier League." I said, the only difference is you're not getting 3 points; you're picking up a trophy. For me, for any final I've ever appeared in, I just do my normal routine, follow the same pattern, drink at the right time, etc., etc. And it's business as usual. When you cross that white line, you forget what's the surroundings are and you play a game of football. I actually thought for the first time in a long, long time, we actually oozed that kind of mentality. I felt like Casemiro walked over that white line. Champions League done, Copa Libertadores or whatever it is done. He doesn't really care, does he? He runs across it. It's the same with Varane, same with Martinez. And I just felt that we had this measure of control. And I'm pretty sure Eddie Howe has said to his players, they played in midweek again, tough game against Barcelona, just hit them hard for 25 minutes and they will either crumble, and if they don't, then we're going to have an issue. We didn't crumble and they had a problem and they never recovered Newcastle. So I was just wondering, you're in the stadium, you're watching it, you're listening to as much as you can, you're listening to the players, you're hearing, certain instructions going on. How did you feel we approached it from a mentality point of view compared to, say, Newcastle?
I think we were calm. I think you're right there. I think we've got some real leaders about the place, and we said backstage, there's some serial winners in that squad now, which is something that I think we've been lacking in the past. Just by adding in, Rafa, Casemiro, and obviously Martinez is now a World Cup winner. You start to allow the players to have a little bit more of a relax in a final, because that squad now is littered with players that have picked up major trophies. Whereas before, we used to have the comments of, De Gea is the only one that's won the Premier League. I mean, in respect to Phil Jones, De Gea is the only one in our squad that's won the Premier League with us. We'd had a couple of, a Europa League and the League Cup here and there abouts before. But, when you start to drip in all those Champions Leagues, all those La Ligas, like say, the Copa del Rey's and stuff like that, that I do just think we approached it. Yeah, Ten Hag has probably just gone to them. It's just another game. It's just another 90 minutes, lads. You just played 90 minutes 3 days ago against arguably the best team in Europe, and you played them off the park. Just do the same thing. And I feel like the Geordies were a little bit more erratic. That was their big occasion, their big day out there. Come on, we need to do this. We need to get a grip of this. And the one thing I will say about Newcastle is I was really worried that they were going to turn up and play how they did when they played at Old Trafford earlier in the season, when they banked 10 men behind the ball. And, you've seen that stat that Ten Hag brought out when he said that, they've had the second lowest time of ball in play.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I thought, we're going to have a bit of a grind in our hands, but fair play to them. They came to play football, they looked to get some Maximan on the ball, and they looked to really utilise what he's good at. And I think Dalot did struggle with that a little bit. Picking up early yellow cards as well was a little bit of a concern for us. But then that's the difference with this United squad, is that you just never feel the panic. I always sit there and I think, we're fine here. We're fine. When we went 1-0 down against Barca, you sit there and you think, it's all right. It's all right. We've got plenty of time. And genuinely, we could go 1-0 down in the 80th minute and I'd still be like, we're still going to win this. Because that's what Ten Hag's done to this squad. And you got that vibe. There wasn't really any panicking going on. There was a couple of misplaced passes here and there, early doors, a little bit of lack of communication. But other than that, you just felt that the lads are all in sync with each other. They all know what they need to do. Ten Hag's a genius. Like, he is a genius. Like, the changes that he makes, like that Wan-Bissaka coming on, like, that was one of the best right-back performances I think I've ever seen from Wan-Bissaka. Yeah. He locked off Saint-Maximin completely. The joy that Saint-Maximin had been having against Dalot, we got nowhere near that with Wan-Bissaka, to the point that they took him off. Do you know what I mean? They took him off and let Joe Willock have a go. Jacob Murphy, I think, had a go at one point. I've forgotten who it was towards the end. So we did. There was calm in the stadium. There was a few frustrating moments here, but that bit where everyone goes, "Oh, fucking hell," and everyone's shut. None of that really, because we were spot on. We were stimulating. And the only bit I wish I could change is that Bruno had passed to Jadon Sancho in the 92nd, 93rd minute. We were screaming for him to pass it, but in the final, do you know what I mean? And you can't blame him.
Do you know, it's interesting really, because I'm watching the game and my missus are like just dotting around and the kids are dotting around, and I'm going, fuck me, like this. I'd have fucking killed him. I would have grabbed him in the changing room and said, "What the fuck are you doing?" And then it's interesting that Casemiro, supposedly had that conversation with him, wasn't it, before they went up to the trophy? And that's winners. So actually, analysis is spot on, and it's something I noticed. I thought Eddie Howe was going to really punish us down the wings, and he tried. He tried his very, very best with the Saint-Maximin. Certainly, when he looked at Dalot on the pitch, he probably thought, "This is good." He's just out of practice. He's so short of match fitness at the moment. It's really bad. And the problem with Saint-Maximin is you've got a player a little bit like our Garnacho. He's going to get the ball and he's just going to run at you. And you've got to slow him down somehow. You've got to slow his attack on you. And unfortunately, Dalot doesn't have that ability to be able to do that. And lack of his positional play sometimes it enables a player like Saint-Maximin to really attack you. The good news for us with Saint-Maximin is you don't know what you're going to get from him. He's either going to trip over the ball, which he almost he's going to kick it out for a throw-in, or he's going to mesmerise you and absolutely leave you on your ass. And he didn't kind of do that. I mean, Dalot did subdue him a little bit, but he didn't subdue him enough. He didn't put one on him. So Maximin's one you've got to put one on early doors. What I did think was interesting is that Varane was massively calm behind him. So every time Saint-Maximin was attacking Dalot, Varane was watching, and didn't really need to step over and help. Because as I say, Saint-Maximin 9 out of 10 times was causing his own issues. And I think that, when you look at the way that they tried to possess the football, they tried to be calm with the football. They tried to cover the football, smother the football, almost play hide and seek with the ball. But it doesn't work when you've got the maestro that is Casemiro. It just doesn't work. And the way that Fred is playing at the moment, particularly in the second halves, it's never going to work. And the reason I think we had that issue, going back to what I said right at the very beginning of the podcast, is playing on Thursday, travelling down Thursday evening, your legs take time to get going. They really, in football, people look at they're professional athletes. It doesn't always happen. Your legs take time to get going. And I felt we took a little bit of time to get going, but I definitely felt that we could see them coming and we could understand what they were doing when they were coming with the ball. Hence, I'm like you, I felt really comfortable. Did you get that kind of impression, in the stadium? Did you kind of fear, a Longstaff, because he tends to do it, doesn't he? 30 yards might do it, or was that never?
No, there was a couple of opportunities in that first half where the ball sort of is floating around those danger areas, and you see Bruno Guimaraes pop up, and you're like, oh, here we go. There was the one where they fizzed the ball across the face of the goal, and no one was there on the other end to get it, and it comes back in, and then Guimaraes smashes it over. Yeah. That was probably the one time we were stood there, heart in mouth. But then, just because they're sort of, those freak moments in football where you can't rely on anyone. You can't really rely on your centre half because the ball, no one knows what the ball's doing. It's just fizzing about a little bit, and you've got somebody that is a good striker with the ball, who's just waiting to receive it. So when it came to like one-on-ones, when it came to transitional defending and things like that, I was always calm. Most people around me were calm. We're starting to exercise, touch wood, starting to exercise these demons that we've gone through under previous managers of never really feeling comfortable. And it was just that sort of that willingness to, at 2-0, they always say that 2-0 is the most dangerous scoreline in football. And it was just making sure that we didn't fall victim to that old adage. And we never looked like conceding, do you know what I mean? Like, I think that, they tried, and it's one of those, I know people have pulled the possession stats out and, they've said we're counter-attacking. It doesn't matter. Yeah. And it's like there's a massive difference between having meaningful possession and just holding the ball because your opponent wants you to have the ball. And I said this after the game. I was just like, it would not have surprised me if second half Ten Hag just went, let them have the ball. They're not doing anything with it. We're dangerous in transition. We've got the pace. We've got the physicality, and we've got the technical skills to deal with the ball better in the transitional attacking periods than they do. So, watching Weghorst, I think Weghorst was top. I know some people have said that.
I wanted to talk about Weghorst later.
I was going to say we'll talk about him later. But it's watching him win the ball back, and immediately we're on the front foot. So I just think, look, everyone around me was in good spirits. Everyone around me there was no white knuckles. There was no one proper, hiding behind their scarf or whatever. Everyone was enjoying it, and it was a nice way for him to win his first trophy. I mean, given the media reaction to us, I sort of wish we'd have won in the 95th minute with a dodgy penalty that was never a penalty.
Yeah.
Because we are the villains of modern football. The media hate us. Everyone seems to hate us, but we're the biggest club in the world, so I don't know that you sort of understand it. But honestly, it was a wicked day. The players loved it. You could tell the players had a great time. I think they had fun with it, and I think it's exactly what we need. Like that period that we've just gone through. Especially even if we just focus on beating Barca on Thursday and then winning the first available trophy. Like everyone can say it's a Mickey Mouse. They can say whatever they want. It's the first available trophy. What are you going to do? Turn around and go, no, we don't want to win it because people, TalkSport have said that our run was a bit easy and, it's not as good as the FA Cup. You're not going to turn it down. It's the first bit of silverware available to anyone in the season outside the Community Shield. So, of course, you're going to want it. We're going to go and hopefully beat West Ham on Wednesday. And it catapults us towards another piece of silverware.
No, absolutely. Just a quick hi to Jarvis and Richard. Thanks for being in the comments, guys. Look, you're absolutely right. The way that you talked about possession was actually key to the game because sometimes, and I've spoken about it a lot, is sometimes it's better to concede possession in a game of football that allows you then to push the transition hard. Newcastle fans were absolutely delirious at the fact that Guimaraes was back. I looked at him and I felt he played like a 12-year-old. He played the occasion rather than his normal game, which was great for us. Disappointing for Newcastle because he was just popping around like a bunny and not actually hurting us, was he? His range of passing, we know, is much better than what it is. Maybe the thought of Casemiro on the pitch was too much for him to handle. Thinking, well, I'm not going to get anything. But he didn't do anything, nor did Almiron. That some of their, what I would call their creative players, didn't really adjust to the match, which is striking when you consider the type of form Newcastle have been in. I know they're having a slight dip, but you're talking two very, very, very good players. Shah at the back and Dan Burn, dangerous very, very slightly, but their defence just completely crumbled by not pressure. I actually think presence. I think the presence of Manchester United on that pitch was more than a pressure to them. They couldn't quite handle our presence. And there are certain things that happen. You look around the dressing room, and I've said this before, you look around the dressing room and you think, yeah, I've got X, Y, and Z there. Yeah, I'm happy today.
Yeah.
When you look around that dressing room now, you've got X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, and E. You've got a whole group of players. And I think, and I wanted to bring Guimaraes and I wanted to bring Almiron because they were desperately, Newcastle fans thought that was the big thing. I didn't think Karius was an issue. I thought Karius had a pretty good game, actually, if I'm being honest. But those two in particular, how do you think that affected Newcastle's overall performance? Because I think it's a massive thing.
Yeah, Bruno Guimaraes is obviously their talisman. He's their Brazilian bit of flair, and he has been one of the best midfielders in Europe for them. And I don't know if that's a controversial take, but I think he's an absolutely phenomenal midfielder.
I think he has. I agree with you. I think he has.
And the fact they got him for the price they did, relatively unchallenged. I know Arsenal had a bit of a flirt with him, but it never happened. And Newcastle included the Arsenal rejection in the transfer announcement. I think that Bruno's a wicked midfielder. I think he made one of the ultimate mistakes you can make is he got a haircut for the final. He had his hair re-dyed and he had a little Newcastle stripes put into his hair along with Joelinton. And I think stuff like that, you're almost already setting yourself up for a little bit of a failure because, you want that hair colour to be iconic. You want to score and have your little stripes on show and stuff like that. And I think if Guimaraes had just turned up regular and just played his game as he does usually week in, week out for Newcastle, it might have been a bit different. But you're right, because there was no structure to their midfield from what we could see. And again, we were in a good position to watch how the formations played out and things like that. You sometimes lose that when you're at the barriers, as and stuff like that. And when you're dead close, you sort of lose that tactical analysis. Not that I was sat there doing tactical, but you know what I mean? You can see and you can pick it up.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, Joelinton, who primarily for Newcastle has been operating on the left-hand side for them, he plays that left 8 and he gets into the channel, he gets just into the half space, and that's where he's dangerous.
at times him and Bruno Guimaraes didn't know where the other one was. So you had one of them dropping into the 6, one of them was pushing up as a 10, and then before you know it, they were playing sort of all over the place. And that's why in transition we looked so dangerous, because there was no one in the middle to stop us really. I think when your talismans like Bruno, Joelinton's been fantastic for them this season. Almiron's obviously, he had that rich run of scoring form. When their levels drop, the players that they elevate around them also drop, because they don't have the passes coming in. They don't have that reassurance. It's like for us, if Casemiro had a stinker for us, you can imagine that the levels in our team would typically start to drop. But because we've got a good spine now of leaders and of serial winners, they can help re-elevate players back. And I just think that Newcastle may be lacking that a little bit at the minute, and that this might have just been a little bit of a step too far. It's a fantastic thing for them to have achieved so early on under Howe. Maybe it was just a bit of a step too far. I think there's some cracks in their squad, and I know that Dan Burn has been good for them at left back, but this was not the right game for him to be playing left back for them. Because
I felt that as well, yeah.
And you watch when Newcastle play a lot of the season, when they're in attacking transition, Trippier steps up and he'll almost operate as a right midfielder or something like that, and Dan Burn will slot in at centre half, and they play with almost like a flat back 3 just to allow for Dan Burn's pace.
Yeah.
What they struggled with this game, because they knew that we had pace and directness on both wings because we played Antony and Rashford, is that they almost were penned back into playing a flat back 4. So there didn't seem to be the creativity for them on either side. A lot of their passes, from what I could see, went through the middle originally, then they'd go out wide. Whereas you've seen Trippier get on the ball and switch it across. Trippier operates almost again as an extra midfielder for them at times.
He tucks in.
Yeah, they didn't seem to have that. And again, I might be wrong. I might have missed that, and it might be something not on TV, and someone can correct me. But from what I saw, everything that's made Newcastle hard to play against this season, they didn't manage to execute in the final. So
that brings me on to the fabled Wout Weghorst, because what you've just explained there is exactly what Weghorst does for us. That opens up the space for Rashford, the space for Antony, the space for Bruno, Fred, and Casemiro if he wants to amble in. This phenomenon that is Wout Weghorst, and I'm sick of seeing and reading uneducated people talk about, well, he's got to go, he's got to do this, he's got to do that. Just watch football, just understand what football's about. Now, this man, he runs from left to right, he harries and he hassles, and he makes fullbacks, he makes centre halves, and he makes holding midfielders make mistakes, because they've got to focus on what he's doing, because he doesn't stand still. The man doesn't stand still, and he will come deep to get it. He can hold it up. He'll push where he's not so good, and where sometimes maybe we need to look at it is his turn of pace, because he's not quick enough. Once he's laid the ball off, he's not quick enough to get into the box. But the space that he's creating by dropping deep and pushing defenders back is a phenomenon. And I don't think Dan Burn and I don't think Kieran Trippier were comfortable or confident enough of stepping out and stepping in for fear that Weghorst would exploit the two centre halves, which he did.
Yeah.
Trippier also had an issue with Rashford. Let's be honest. You've got to make a decision on what you do with Rashford, and Burn was never going to compete on a skill level with Antony. One thing Burn didn't do, which was ridiculous, was take Antony out. He should have taken him out. But Antony is a big, strong lad, and he won't allow him to do that. And I thought we used our wingers better than we've used him in weeks. But our man, and I will let you wax lyrical about our man Weghorst, because I thought he was phenomenal all game. And to see his face, to win his first ever trophy in professional football, and he just looks, and he could hardly speak because he was drained with emotion. And looking at what the fans have done for him, and look at what Ten Hag has done for him, and not forgetting Steve McLaren, this person of ridicule a few years ago, you've got to really understand what it meant to Weghorst. So I'm going to give you the floor on Weghorst because I know me and you think the same about him.
Yeah, I think anyone that thinks that Weghorst is rubbish gets their football knowledge through playing FIFA and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If a centre forward's not scoring 3-4 times a game, then they're bobbins and they're rubbish. Some of the best sides in world football, like across the history of football, have had goal scoring inside forwards and a centre forward who links the play. Not that I want to compare us to him, but everyone used to bang on about Sadio Mane, Mo Salah, Roberto Firmino, and the fact that Firmino did the sort of the defensive work in an attacking three. He drew the centre halves in, created the space in the inside channels. Yeah. And everyone used to bang on about how genius that was. Just because Weghorst is a bit taller, everyone seems to forget that that's still in his locker. That everyone seems to think that they misprofile him and think that because he's 6'5", whatever he is, that he needs to be a target man. We need to be putting balls into Weghorst's head and stuff like that. He's so much better with the ball at his feet and off the ball. And the thing that most people that watch him through the TV won't see a lot of the time is the work he does off the ball, the way that he holds up the play, the way that he distracts the centre halves, dropping deep into midfield and providing us with an extra man while we still have outlets, because we've still got Rashford waiting, we've still got Anthony waiting, Bruno might have pushed up. And the work he does, that man does not stop running. And Wembley's a big pitch. Like Wembley's a massive pitch. And I was a bit terrified of it, let alone how these players feel. And I genuinely think players like Weghorst help to make it feel a bit smaller for our players. Would have made it feel massive for the Newcastle players. Because if you're Botman or you're Shah or you're Dan Burn, depending on wherever he is, and you're getting sucked in because you're watching this big target man, who you think is a target man, but actually he's very technically gifted.
Yeah.
You're tracking his run, and then all of a sudden you've got Rashford popping up. You're like, oh God, I'm having a bad day here. And that's what he brings to us so well. He loves to link the play up between the wingers. He created, the goal he created for Rashford immediately for me kills off any argument that anyone ever has that he's not good enough. Like I implore you to watch him actually play football and not just read the stats, because Weghorst has been such a good addition to this side. I don't want to mention him because he's gone. If Ronaldo in this side now does nothing compared to what Weghorst does for us, the pressing metrics and the ground that he covers, the link-up play he has, and if we were American and we were tracking pre-assists, I'd be very interested to know how many pre-assists he has, because he picks up the ball well. And yes, there are moments where it's frustrating that he doesn't win a header and stuff like that, but I can forgive all that because of the work that he does with his feet. He's like a technically gifted Marouane Fellaini. Do you know what I mean? Like, I loved Fellaini.
So it's quite a good analysis. Yeah, it's quite a good analysis. Yeah. I agree with everything you said. I like Weghorst, and I'll defend him. I do the same with Maguire. I understand Maguire, the way that he plays. We don't sometimes play to his strengths as a defender, and some of our fans don't kind of understand the basics and the essence of what football's about. You need players that offer you something completely different in and around your squad and in and around your first 11. And Weghorst, look, I thought he had his best game for us, if I'm being honest, against Newcastle. I thought he was superb on Sunday, absolutely superb. And it was great to see him sliding down. Just want to, because we're coming up to half an hour, believe it or not, amazing. I want to ask you about Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Another player that has been absolutely slated for 18 months. When he first came, he was this brilliant right back. And I love the guy. I like how he defends. I like that he takes no prisoners, but he was always struggling going forward. And my opinion has always been, you're a right back first and foremost. When you get that part of your game, 100%, then move forward and get your crossing it. This guy has completely changed the way that I think a current right back plays. And what I mean by that is, not only can he tackle, not only has he got his position right, he's now attacking with purpose. And instead of trying to beat his man and do this spider legs thing that he used to do, his thought process is far, far, far ahead of where it used to be. Compare that also with the introduction of Anthony to our side. He feels comfortable, Wan-Bissaka is, moving forward and allowing Anthony to either receive the ball from him and then carry on, play a bit of a 1-2 that he did with Sancho against, I think it was Barcelona, wasn't it, to the latter end of the game. Either get a cross in or also move into midfield centrally and try and influence the game. We spoke beforehand. You felt that Wan-Bissaka, was the final nail in the Saint-Maximin coffin. I totally agree. I think he was. I think he looked at Saint-Maximin and thought, right, I'll just put you in here now, pal, because you ain't. I'll carry you around like a little rag doll with me, because that's what he did. And he gets up and he tackles, and he's got no emotion on his face. He's a proper right back. I'm going to hit you. I've got no emotion. I'm going to fall over. I've got no emotion. Until the final whistle goes, then it all comes out of him. Just tell me what you think about Wan-Bissaka. Sorry to put you on the spot on this one, because
no.
But
I'm always happy to talk about him.
It's great.
So obviously, me and you have been doing this for a while together now, Stu. We've been doing YouTube shows. I've always rated Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I've always said that I think he's a wicked right back, and I think he got a bit of bad press. And he was a scapegoat for a long time with how poor we were down that, our defensive right hand side and the opposition attacking left. The way he's come back in since it was very clear at the start of Ten Hag's reign that he wasn't interested in using Wan-Bissaka. Go and find yourself another club, and I think the media picked up a lot of that noise and ran with it. And for him, that must have been gutting. He's earned his massive move to United. He's been there 2 years, and now all of a sudden, because we've had a bit of a stinker towards the end of Ollie's time, and then obviously Ranić, that's it. My chance is gone now. So to see the turnaround that he's had, to see him keep his head down, he hasn't made noise, he hasn't complained, he hasn't moaned and spat his dummy out and gone and done interviews with, certain members of the right-wing media. He just trains hard, and you can see that what he's always done best is obviously one-on-ones. I stand by that. He's one of the best one-on-one defenders in the world. He's now, like you say, he's got that confidence and that ability to progress the ball. We've seen some of his footwork this season has been phenomenal. I said on Thursday night show after the Barca game that he has this insane ability to almost make it look like he's miscontrolled a pass or whatever, but it's not. He's not to touch into his own path, and he's round someone. And that performance that he put in was monstrous, because Dallo's obviously would have come off and been like, I tell you what, lad, have fun with that, because he's given me a tough game. And Wan-Bissaka's just gone, no drama. And yeah, you can just tell he's a focused professional. Every time they got the ball down their left-hand side, Wan-Bissaka was there. Honestly, I was just like, this man is everywhere. This man is a monster, and he is. I really hope we are getting back into a position now where Trent's been the sort of the ceiling, and he's been the bar for right backs and everything like that. If everyone gets compared to him, it was Reece James gets compared to him and stuff like that. Is Trent the best right back we've ever seen in the Premier League, because he was fashionable, because he was picking up the ball on the halfway line and he was pinging diagonal balls and stuff like that. Now Liverpool are getting attacked constantly because they're vulnerable. No one's having them conversations because Trent can't defend, whereas Wan-Bissaka has that in his locker. And I'm sorry, if you're a right back, you can't defend, then what's the point? So to see him back to this level is fantastic. For him to do it in a cup final, Ten Hag's probably sat there now going, I've got a player on my hands here, and it's easier for him to coach him and get him working with Benny McCarthy, right? And get him trained, in the offensive third. And we'll see an improvement. And I agree with what Reece was saying in the comments about Wan-Bissaka and Anthony's probably our best right-hand side. I think it is. And it's so nice to see a player that I've backed for 4 years, been told he was shite, been told he was rubbish. To see him pull out a performance like this in a final, to see how happy he was at the final whistle. And, it's just a nice feeling to be around the squad again. The scenes at full time were fantastic. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're watching the players sing "Take Me Home" back to us and stuff like that. We're singing our chants with us. And it was heartwarming.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, after everything we've been through, and that's another thing, by the way, just quickly. I think that Erik ten Hag handled, and Bruno and Maguire handled the trophy presentation immaculately. Like, Harry Maguire as our club captain and Bruno as the matchday captain, lifting it together and stuff like that. I think even just little things like that show the unity in this squad at the minute, regardless of whether you're a fringe player or something like that. You're still part of this squad. And Maguire might leave us in the summer, but what a nice way for him to start to his bow out. Picking up his first trophy as United captain. He did it alongside the guy that is our week in, week out captain. And yeah, but just to go back to your original point, Wan-Bissaka, man, some guy.
And you're absolutely right. On one thing that a lot of people miss is it's massively, massively, massively difficult to come in at half time and play somebody like Saint-Maximin. It's hugely difficult, and it was like whatever. Yeah, I'll just get on with it, and he did. He was a great asset to the game. I can't believe it, guys. There's tons of you watching. So from myself and Jamie, thank you very much. Get in the comments. We've got about 10 minutes to go. We better
talk about West Ham.
West Ham. I was listening to actually before we go on to West Ham, I did want to bring up the trophy, the double, the two captains lifting the trophy. TalkSport, surprise, surprise, are making a big deal of it. Is it right or is it wrong? My opinion, look, yes, Maguire is our club captain, whether people like it or not. He is, and Bruno is our daily captain, or our match day captain, as you want to say. We've seen it before, and we'll see it in the future. If you're bothering and having a conversation about that, do me a favour, go and support hockey, okay? Because we're not interested. Don't come in here or talk to us about rubbish like that, because I'm not interested. Right, West Ham. What does he do? What does he do? Now, I'm hearing on the grapevine that Moyes is likely to play a weakened side. He feels that the FA Cup is a distraction to them and that maybe the league is their focus. My opinion on this one is go with your strongest team again. I think we should do everything we can to beat West Ham and progress in the cup. I don't know where we're going to end up in the league. Probably third, I think, if we're all honest. But winning the cup and winning the Europa League, a treble of cups would be phenomenal achievement for this group of players. So what do you think we should be doing on Wednesday? Do you think we should maybe rest one or two players? I'm thinking De Gea, for example, and maybe give Heaton a run. Do we rest Rashford and maybe give Sancho or Garnacho and Anthony and give Garnacho a run? Would you play Weghorst again? What would you do, and how do you see the challenge of Wednesday?
I think it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I think the biggest problem Ten Hag is going to have at the minute is players are going to want to play. Players are going to want to be part of everything that we're doing at the minute. There'll be players that didn't get on the pitch against Barcelona that will be absolutely teething because they wanted to be part of that. Again, in the final, there'll be players that didn't get on that are gutted because they wanted to be part of that. So you'll have people banging on, and that is such a good problem for a manager to have because you're going to end up with players, trying extra hard in training, doing extra sessions, trying to impress the manager to get onto the team sheet because we're playing well. So players don't have this thing in their back of the mind going, "Oh, we're playing shit, and I still can't get a game. Maybe my future's elsewhere." The thing is, we're playing really well. Oh, and I can't get a game in a minute, so I need to up my game. Do you know what I mean? It's that level to it. I agree. I've got to say though, I agree with Reece. We've had the most congested schedule in Europe post World Cup, and we've come through it relatively unscathed. I'd say we passed the test. We had one loss in all of that, and that was the Arsenal game. A couple of draws sprinkled in there, and again there were the Leeds game, which was a massive anomaly, and that Crystal Palace Michael Lee absolute sucker punch, but again wicked free kick.
Great goal.
And it's like, I agree with Reece. I wouldn't heavily rotate necessarily. I'd keep riding this wave of positivity. I think we've got a few players now that are completely interchangeable. I think that Sabitzer and Fred, they complement each other very nicely when they replace each other. Sabitzer came on in the final and was immaculate. Was absolutely immaculate. Get him signed on a permanent, by the way, in the summer. Get him signed on a permanent. I don't care.
I think we will.
He is
I'd have Weghorst as a permanent there.
So absolutely.
I'd have both.
Weghorst would play for us for £1 a week. Do you know what I mean?
He would, wouldn't he? Bless him.
Yeah. So I'd be starting Casemiro, because I think he's the one player in this side that we don't have a replacement for. We don't have the same structure and fluidity when Casemiro doesn't play. And West Ham are still a Premier League side, and as we know with everyone, despite their struggles in the league, whenever people come to play us at Old Trafford, it's their cup final. Do you know what I mean? And they get themselves G'd up for it. So you'll watch. He'll play Scamacca, who I rated before he came to West Ham. He's been dog shit at West Ham. He'll turn up and he'll have a game. This is where someone tells me that he's out injured for 4 months, by the way.
I don't think he is he? I don't think he is. I think he struggled. You're absolutely right. He struggled to get to grips with the Premier League. There's no two ways about it. But he's not putting in the same type of effort that West Ham need from him at the minute. And you're never going to rely on Antonio, are you? He'll have a couple of games here and there, but you're never going to rely on him. Jared Bowen's the same. You're never going to rely on these people. It's interesting. What's happening with West Ham, and it's interesting what's happening with us. I don't blame Moyes. If I'm being honest, I think West Ham have got to secure Premiership status as soon as they possibly can. And this is an irritant for them. It really is an irritant. Now, publicly, they'll come out and say, "Look, it's the FA Cup, we want to win, etc." But privately, it's an irritant. There's absolutely no two ways about it. I do agree. I wouldn't change too much. I think it'd be a mistake to change too much because we are riding this crest of a wave. And when you are winning games of football, your legs feel so much better and your lungs feel so much larger, and you can breathe as much air in as you like. But if he does want to, bring Fred off at half-time, Sabitzer can sit in there seamlessly. Or vice versa. You could rest Fred and put in Sabitzer. I don't think that's a rotation for me. I think a way of doing it. A rotation for me is pulling Varane out, and he might pull Varane out and put Maguire in or Lindelof.
Yeah, I think we could maybe see, we could see like Lindelof and Maguire having a game together.
Malacia maybe.
Yeah, I think Malacia will come back in.
But these aren't big rotations, though. They're not big rotations, are they, when you think about it?
Because these are defenders that we've been playing, here and there throughout the season. Malacia still wants to push for that starting left back spot. It's just a shame for him that Luke Shaw's become the best left back in Europe again. And I think we might see Jadon Sancho start, but again, I wouldn't take that as a rotation because we've got fluid options. I do think we'll start. I reckon De Gea starts just because every time I've said he's going to rotate the goalkeeper and give him a rest, I think he always. But the only thing is De Gea he's just had his record-breaking clean sheet. He's now the 181 clean sheets is now our record clean sheet holder. So they'll want to give him that moment, of being like, oh, I'm back to Old Trafford now as the record clean sheet holder.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think we'll probably start with. I think we might start with a slightly rotated back four, maybe not too heavy. We might see Wan-Bissaka start again because they'll play Ben Rama on the left hand. If they're not, depending on how weak they go, but Ben Rama's quite tricky. He's good with the ball at his feet. So we might need a right back that can deal with him. And then we'll see the changes that we've seen, already. So we'll probably start with a front three of Bruno play on the right, Weghorst play through the middle, Rashford on the left, and Sancho might be in the 10. And then he can do that thing where at half time he brings Weghorst off, moves Rashford into the centre. Yeah. Sancho's over to the left. And do you know what I mean? Just by making one change, you can completely restructure his entire attack. I don't think we'll see too much unless there's been anything, and it's not come out yet, but unless there's been anything from the final, maybe that, if anyone's feeling a bit fatigued. Casemiro obviously did go to Paris for the FIFA Pro Awards, because again, he's been named as the best defensive midfielder in the world. Because he is the best defensive midfielder in the world. But we'll wait and see. At this point, Ten Hag's a genius. Ten Hag is a genius. So what he puts out, I will eat it up, and I'll be there again on Wednesday night. So,
and I think it is important to really point out that rotation. It isn't Fred and Sabitzer. It's Dalot and Brandon Williams. That's rotation.
Yeah.
Garnacho for Rashford's not rotation. It's
the first team players.
So I think it's we should point that out. And we're going to need these players. We've said before, haven't we? We're going to need these players. Sabitzer potentially, if Fred picked up a knock, could be starting at Anfield. Now that's a cauldron, and Ten Hag must think about Liverpool. He'll have to think about Liverpool. He'll have no choice. What I like about the man is, I'll have a glass of champagne, then it's back to business.
A small beer is permitted.
A small beer, and then business, and that's what he's done.
And the position that we're in is fantastic, because if you're making those choices of who's going to be that front three, right, and let's say you start Rashford on the left hand side, so Ben Johnson, who probably play right back for West Ham in the game,
right?
He'll be like, right, I'm going to deal with Rashford for 60 minutes, and then after 60 minutes, Garnacho comes on, and he's like, fucking hell, man, give me a break, because he's gone from having somebody who wants to drift in and cut inside a little bit, and his direct, obviously, he's probably the best finisher in the world on form at the minute. And, he sees Rashford's number up and he's like, oh, thank God for that. I can breathe a little bit. And then all of a sudden, on comes Garnacho, who's just going to run it. Who's just going to run at him. And honestly, man, I'd give up at that point. If I was a right back, I'd just be like, nah, I can't be arsed. I'm done with this. I'd be there to the gaffer, like, right, get me off here now. It's a nice position to have. We can swap Anthony for Bruno, and Bruno does really well out on that right-hand side these days. He really fills the space, and, he's really proactive. Sancho playing at the 10, it's a new role for him, but this is probably the sort of game where Ten Hag wants to get him back out and practicing in this new role. Because I don't think West Ham will really push us that hard. That could come back to bite me. I'm just putting that out there. But I don't think that they're going to push us majorly hard. They've got some big bullish players in there. They've got the likes of Souček, Soufal, Scamacca at Scamacca's place. They might rough us up a little bit, but I don't think we're going to have a high pressing game from them. They're not going to run us off the park. I think we're going to be dealing a lot in transition with them. They've got some big boys that are going to want to win the ball, but do I think Martinez, for example, if he starts, is scared of Scamacca? No, probably not. Not the form he's been in anyway.
Martinez will honestly, he'll be rubbing his hands together.
Oh yeah,
let's have you. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. And this team at the minute just want to play football. Do you know what I mean? They just want to play football together as a group, because you see, and that's another thing that obviously you really got from the ground is the togetherness. And also, I love the fact that the biggest cheer when they got the trophy was Ten Hag. As soon as Ten Hag got his hands on that trophy, it was just, you could feel the appreciation and the love for him. And also, my favourite moment was there's the camera pan to Avram Glazer, and obviously his big heads on the screen and stuff like that, and the boos that rang out.
That's an interesting development. We won't discuss that now.
No, that's another
we've
show.
got a couple of minutes left, because unfortunately, there's loads of you watching. Me and Jamie are absolutely delighted. Thanks very much for tuning in and listening to us two drone on for 50 minutes. But I've got a football match myself tonight, so I'm going to have to wrap this up now. But let's have your score prediction, Jamie. Just give us what you think their first 11 will be, and then a score prediction from you.
I think I'm going to go with Dalot, Lindelof, Martinez, Malacia. I think that'll be the back four. I think De Gea starts as well, and I think that'll be the back four. I think it's going to be Casemiro, Sabitzer. I reckon Sabitzer might start, and then Bruno. But again, it depends whether Bruno's out on the right. But that'll be my midfield three, and I think it'll be Rashford, Weghorst, and Sancho. I think Sancho will get the start. And they'll do that thing where Bruno goes out, Sancho cuts in. And then I think we'll beat them. I'm going to go 2-0. I think it'll be professional, comfortable, and we'll have a good time of it. Do you know what I mean? This is all going to come back to bite me when, again, West Ham decide to turn up like it's a Champions League final. And Scamacca finds the form that he had in Italy last season. But I think we get the job done on Wednesday.
I think we win 3-0. Actually, I think we beat them West Ham quite comfortably. I'm backing Sabitzer to get his first goal. I think he'll do it.
It's coming.
Yeah, it is. I think Weghorst will score as well. I think I'd love to see him. He deserves a goal. But I'm with you. I think he'll make a few changes, nothing wholesale. But he'll have to consider Liverpool, because whatever you say, however Liverpool are playing, it'll be a cauldron at 4:30. It's Sunday, isn't it? Sunday afternoon at 4:30. It has to be. It'd be a cauldron. It'd be a very, very, very hard, difficult game for us. They're wounded, and it'll be a very, very difficult game for us. So I think I'm with you. I think I'll make a few changes. Guys, I'm going to have to wrap it up. Sorry, Jamie, go on.
I was going to say, and the only other thing to point out as well is that, if we are playing West Ham, who play a weakened side, and, if they haven't got really, much care about progressing, is that the last thing we want is another incident happen with Eriksen, where,
exactly.
we're on the wrong end of a bad challenge that results in somebody going down. Because if we're without Varane, Casemiro, Licha, Rashford or anyone for that Liverpool game, then all of a sudden the momentum switches. Whereas at the minute, if we can beat West Ham, good result, then we're going into Sunday, feeling good, and just going to beat them at Anfield this season and just be.
Oh God, how good
that'd be
amazing, wouldn't it, if we beat them at Anfield?
Give Ten Hag the keys to the city. Honestly,
I think he'll get it. I think he'll get the keys to the city there. That'd be amazing, guys. I'm gonna have to wrap it up. Can't thank you enough for watching. This has been absolutely brilliant. Myself and Jamie, we really do thank you. I don't know when you'll see us back. We'll just have to wait. It's probably tomorrow night. Are you doing the review with?
No, I'm there. I'm going. I'm at the game. So.
It's one of the things I didn't buy. I haven't bought FA Cup tickets, so hence I couldn't get a ticket for the final on Sunday. But still bitter about that, and we won't go into that. So I think you'll probably see me tomorrow night doing the review. Jamie, enjoy the game. I look forward to seeing you again shortly, mate. Thank you again ever so much for everybody that's watched. I'm Stuart, and this is Jamie, and we're out.